Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak to you tonight, and congratulations to the class of 2018. Congratulations as well. Oh yeah, let's applaud. Yeah. Congratulations as well to you, the family and friends of the class of 2018. I'm sure you're all very proud of the graduates up here on the stage tonight. Graduates, as Ellis students, I know that you've worked hard over the past 4 years, more for many of you, and that you have accomplishments in a range of fields under your belts, from robotics to journalism, social justice to the visual arts. Your passions and your interests are wide-ranging. But I also hope you had some fun, because speaking as a game designer, if you're not having fun, then I'm out of a job. I want to tell you a little bit about what I do. I'm a professor at Carnegie Mellon University, and my research area is games and play. And I make games, I study games, I teach game design, and in particular, I work on how games can change the way that players think, feel, and behave. In just the last year, I've worked on games that help kids be more curious about science, games that help families talk more honestly about mental health, and games that teach players about women's history. Now, games aren't a panacea for every problem, but in the right context, they can be transformational. In our daily lives, for example, we usually want to eliminate obstacles so we can do what we want to do more easily. But in games, we do the reverse. We make rules that make it harder for us to accomplish the goals of the game, and then we celebrate playing by them. So imagine basketball where the hoop is on the ground, or hopscotch where you could just walk up and down the squares, or Super Mario where Mario was always invulnerable. It might be easier to achieve the goals of these games, but they'd be a lot less fun. Games change our attitude toward rules, and mastering rules is a key skill for any game designer. So, as you prepare to go out into the world, I'd like to give you a game designer's blessing. First, may you know the rules. Knowing the rules lets you play by them and succeed. As a child, you get told these rules explicitly, right? Brush your teeth, do your homework, eat your vegetables. But as you get older, the rules will be more and more left unspoken. What major should you choose in college? How do you meet new friends? When you have a job, when is it okay to ask for promotion? Now, you'll find people along the way who are willing to give you advice, but many fewer people who can articulate the hidden structures that shape the specific advice that they give you. So to know the rules, you will need an analytic mind and a keen eye for observation so that you can discover unspoken rules and puzzle out their effects. But here's the thing. Knowing how rules affect you is only half the battle. The novelist Anatole France wrote, "The law in its majestic equality forbids both rich and poor to sleep under bridges, beg in the streets, and steal loaves of bread." A rule that has no practical effect on your life may have a profound and powerful effect on the lives of others. For example, in most of this country, it's legal to put someone in jail if they don't pay a speeding ticket or other kinds of municipal fines. Now, if you've got even a few $100s in the bank, this might sound like a reasonable deterrent, right? Stop people from skipping out on paying what they owe. But those people who can't pay end up in jail. This rule amounts to what the Civil Rights Corps calls wealth-based detention. Same rule, different effects, depending on who you are. So to truly know the rules, you're going to need the ability to listen closely and generously to the experiences of others, so that you can understand how rules play out for people who aren't you. And you'll need to know whose experiences with rules you aren't hearing, because that means that those are rules you don't yet understand. Then, go and understand. Number 2, may you break the rules. Now, breaking the rules is a tough one, right? I'm sure you can all think of people who break the rules because they're selfish, because they're reckless, because they think the rules don't apply to them, right? I'm guessing we can all think of at least one person like that in our lives. But breaking the rules can also be heroic. As educated young women, you're here today because of generations of rule breakers, like Elizabeth Blackwell, the first woman to graduate from medical school at a time when medical education was reserved for men. I'm here because of Grace Hopper, whose pioneering work on computer compilers means my job exists. Marsha P. Johnson, who fought for trans and gender nonconforming women at Stonewall and beyond. These women, and countless more like them, decided that society's rules were unfair. And they often faced harsh consequences for their rule breaking. But they opened the doors of male-only institutions. They insisted that women be safe and free. They changed laws and they changed standards of behavior. And they insisted that all women be included in the gains that some women have made. And together, these rule breakers have made it possible for us to be here today, honoring your success and anticipating your bright future. Now, to break the rules, you're going to need wisdom, and you're going to need judgment, so that you can know when breaking the rules is necessary and when it's just self-serving. So look around at the people who are here today. These are the people who will help you cultivate wisdom and judgment, and who will help you cultivate the courage to face the consequences of rule breaking when they're difficult for you, and who will stick with you when rule breaking becomes necessary. Number 3, may you make new rules. Someday each of you will hold power. And that power might come with the external trappings like a fancy title, lots of money, status, prestige, but it might come more quietly with the realization that you're a role model to your community, or that you're the person who gets to set the norms among your friends. Now, nobody's all powerful, but I think every person has areas where they do have power, and it's important to know where those areas are, because those are the places where you get to make the rules. Now, every game designer knows that making rules is really hard. Rules can be so complicated that nobody can possibly follow them. They can have unintended consequences. They can be easily exploited. One of my favorite examples is from an older game called Ultima Online. Any former Ultima Online, current Ultima Online players here? Okay, one or two. It's an online game where it was illegal to steal other players' items, right? Seems like a very sensible rule. And if you did, the town guards would attack you. But it wasn't illegal to pick items up off the ground. So some players would pair up. One of them would make a throwaway character who would go around stealing, and dropping everything on the floor. And then their partner would pick it up and walk away scot-free. So that's an example of how getting the rules right can be pretty important when it comes to actually changing behavior in the way that you want to. Now, people react to rules in unexpected ways, so it's often hard to tell whether rules work until you try them out. Now, in a game, it's actually pretty easy. You write a rule book, you write some code, and you invite people to play. But testing rules outside of games is harder, especially when you're thinking inclusively about whose life experiences you're considering. So you're going to need to be alert to unexpected consequences. And you're going to need the humility to live with being wrong on a regular basis. I can vouch for that one personally. But even though it means being wrong a lot, I think that the game design approach here is valuable. And I'd like to share a story from my life about what it can look like in practice. When I went to college, I followed the rules. My father told me to take a computer science class my freshman year, so I obediently signed up for one. Now, when it finished, I figured, take the next course, why not? But I wasn't sure I had enough experience. So I went to meet with the professor and get some advice about what to do. No, he said, you don't have enough experience. Don't take this class. And at that moment, I had a choice. I could follow the rules and do what an authority figure was telling me to do. And in practice, that probably would have meant forgetting about computer science. Or I could ignore the professor and take the class anyways. I'm a professor of computer science more or less now, so you can probably guess what I decided to do. And because of that decision, I switched my major to computer science, right? That's what I ended up doing. But I looked around me and I saw other women who couldn't afford to risk breaking the rules, or who broke them less successfully, who couldn't sort of weather the risks that I was able to face. So I promised myself that someday I would see that other people did not have to break the rules in order to follow in my footsteps. So today I run a lab at Carnegie Mellon University. It's an interdisciplinary lab where we blend computer science, social science, and game design, and in my lab, I'm in charge. That means I get to make the rules, and those rules are designed to help everyone succeed. And I'll just give you one small example. Academia, it's a high-pressure environment where rates of anxiety and depression far exceed the norm. And these issues are systemic. Individuals can do things like to look after themselves, they can find a therapist, they can practice self-care, but individual choices don't change things like a culture of overwork or the pressure to perform at your best every single day. It takes a system to beat a system. So my lab has rules. Our rules are things like we cheer for rejection. By the way, love the rejection wall. Because it means if you're getting rejected, you were ambitious. That makes you a hero. Or if you're working hard to hit a deadline, you're required to schedule extra time off afterwards. And the day I found one of my graduate students advising an undergrad, hey, you need to make sure you're taking enough time off, I knew that the rules I made were working. Now, these kinds of decisions may sound impossibly small in a world full of systems that need fixing. But I believe that by building equitable, accessible cultures where we're able, we can inspire other people to do the same, even if they haven't yet mastered the work of rules. I believe that by practicing every chance we get, we can train ourselves to be responsible and inclusive with power. And I believe that every life we change along the way matters. So, graduates, may you know the rules. May you break the rules. May you make new rules. And most of all, may you have fun doing it. Congratulations.